Looking at some cards that are in great pickup ranges at the end of summer 2024, Jake, we got to start with Elesh Norn Grand Cenobite. This card has been over $45 at various points, and it's not exactly in its absolute all-time low right now. That was kind of at the beginning of this year, around $11 and $12, but $15, it hasn't creeped up that far, and I feel like risk is low on a card that might dodge a reprint for a while and creep back up into that $20-$30 range.
Yeah, considering it was printed, it has a secret layer printing. It was also came back as a reprinting, and I believe Phyrexia All Will Be One and that kind of thing. Or did it? No, it was March of the Machine. That's what it was.
Legends version here.
Yeah, so it's had recent reprints, and you know, the Praetors, we just had like a few sets that were centered around like Praetor centric type stuff with March of the Machine, and then also Phyrexia All Will Be One. So yeah, this is one of those cards that it's iconic, dude. It's a boomer card, but it's still good to this day.
Yeah, with all of the attention that Phyrexia got over the last couple of years, it's kind of natural that these cards hit lows and then start to creep back up. We don't often put 7 mana cards on lists like this, but if you thought that was crazy, you should see our number 2 pick.
Big thank you to all of our sponsors. Card Conduit, best place to sell your singles. If you have cards that are $1 or more, sell them to Card Conduit. Add a buy list, turn that cash into more singles. And if you are picking up singles, make sure to use our TCG affiliate link. TCG Player is one of our other sponsors, and that is a great marketplace for picking up your cards. And then also Drip Shop, where you're going to find us at least once a month giving away cards, selling auctions, selling all sorts of random stuff. If you want to come catch a drip stream, you can find info in the description for that as well.
We're also brought to you by Dragon Shield, Moxfield, and MTG Stocks. Back to MTG Stocks, Jake, we got to look at a 10 mana card as our second option here on our great pickups list. Apex Devastator, from the moment it came out, slowly started creeping up above $20, and now with the Commander Modern Horizons 3 version showing up, we have got a card that is sub 10, creeping down towards 5. I mean, make a lot of mana and make a lot of permanence, right?
Yeah, dude, this is one of those cards, the Cascade. It's just bananas. I remember when this card was spoiled and we were like, holy crap, what is going on? It's this big green 10 cost card. You could definitely see on the chart that it had some hype, but it's been reprinted now. And so it's brought it into a reasonable range. If you're in big green, Apex Devastator is one of these cards that you probably want in your deck. Now we have a card that was originally a Portal 3 Kingdoms card, and the P3K price was, geez, around like $500 or $600 at one point. Now we have Capture of Jingzhou. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but you take an extra turn after this one. A classic case in scarcity, absolutely killing the price of the card. It was printed in Commander Masters, which we know was a set that brought us all sorts of, you know, big, good Commander staples. This was one of the chase cards in that set. People were like, oh, they're reprinting Capture from P3K. It was the same kind of thing when they did this with Imperial Recruiter and most recently Imperial Seal, where, you know, you print an old iconic card that isn't reserve list, and the price goes from an all-time high to an all-time low, and that's where we're at on this. If you're in a taking turns deck, you probably want to pick up a copy of Capture sub 10 instead of around $600.
I feel like the channel has sort of grown alongside the price of these cards coming down, because 5 years ago we're making videos about don't ever buy these, don't think about buying these, they're going to get reprinted, they're not on the reserve list, we're going to see them.
Right.
And now we have mostly seen all of the major ones get reprinted over the last 5 years, and here we are with a $10 version of Capture that would have set you back hundreds if you absolutely needed a completely real copy like 5 years ago. Urza's Incubator is the next card we want to talk about, and not the Urza's Destiny version. I just wanted this version up so that we could see the history of this card. You can see where it started really taking off around Kaldheim, stayed above $40 most of 21, 22, and 23, and then we saw a reprint, and then we saw another reprint. And that is now why you can look at the Modern Horizons 3 base copy, which is the most recent base copy printed, and see that for under $10, your Kindred decks are getting reduced to cast the creatures.
It's such a great card. It's such an amazing card. it's an absolute must include for mana reduction. Anybody in a Kindred deck, I don't know why you wouldn't.
Like only elves, I could say, because elves make their own mana, and so I'd rather have another 1 mana dork elf, you know, maybe than Urza's Incubator, just to continue building those synergies. But there's even an argument
so
for
many
it
elves
in there.
are 1 and 2 costs too, right?
Exactly.
So it's like,
you're gonna miss
why am I
on half
running
of your
Incubator
army.
for Llanowar Elf, right?
But Eldrazi, holy crap, this card is an all-star in my Eldrazi deck.
You should be running it in an Eldrazi deck. You're absolutely right.
Dragons, yeah. Urza's Incubator is great. You've never had a better time. Go look at all your Kindred decks, see where you need copies. Grab yourself some MH3 copies.
Next up, we got the Treasure Dragon, recently reprinted in the Modern Horizons 3 precon. This is a card that is, if you're in Dragons, you want it. If you like Treasure, you want it. Tons of hype around this card when it originally came out. We also see years later that Treasure is not going away. So like the Treasure continues to get support. And so, yeah, Goldspan Dragon, it's one of these cards that has been as high as what, $40? Is that what we were looking at?
Over
Now we're looking
$40 for the Kaldheim copy. Yeah, and now your pre-con copy is the one you should target if you just want the lowest. Under $10.
Sub 10.
Yeah, dog. I mean, you said it's good for Dragon decks. It's good for Treasure decks. I mean, are you in red? Have you looked to see if you just could have a 4 power 5 mana hasty flying dragon that makes treasures for you that sack for 2 mana? Like, is that good enough for your deck? Are you copying this with maybe a commander that copies creatures? Because it's not legendary. Great for that. This is just a really good creature across the board.
It is. You're right. You should be able to, because you're playing this for 5 mana, right? Sure, you can reduce it or whatever, but at the baseline, you're playing this for 5.
Yes.
And if you immediately swing with it, you know you're getting a treasure, so it effectively costs 4. And then if it does get targeted, which is obviously the next stage of the evolution of its life on the battlefield, you're getting another treasure token. And so,
but those treasures tap for 2, sack for 2 now. So it's actually it costs 3. If you're attacking with it on the turn it comes in, it's refunded you 2 of that cost to cast it. Goldspan Dragon's great. It's been talked about ad nauseum. It's been around forever. Really good pickup range now. Miss Sheoldred in her March of the Machine flipper version. You know, the only thing I needed to do with Sheoldred was flip her around. That was inappropriate. 5 mana is going to get you an each opponent effect, y'all. I've played with this Sheoldred a lot. People hate seeing it because everybody's got to sack a non-token creature or planeswalker. And if it does flip, it's destroying stuff. It's returning all your stuff. It's just a really monster mythic here, especially for anything that's Phyrexian, Praetors, anything like that, sacrifice-based. This one has gotten down. This one just kind of continues to fall. All-time low around $15 here in August. And I'm just telling you from personal experience, this is a good creature for your black decks, and you should maybe give it a peek.
Oh, they said, Joel, they told us. They said this one's not going to crack below 20. People need it too much. Well, it shows that Legacy is just, I mean, or what was it, Vintage? Yeah. It's just not formats that have a ton of players using it. And this was an ultimate scarcity case as well. You're reprinting a card with a very niche, extremely niche use, putting it in an extremely wild frame as well that I guess because of the prices of these has not been super popular. But yeah, the card is extremely niche. It only had a printing before this in Zendikar, so yes, it got an absurdly high price, but at this point it has been reprinted. The demand has been satiated, and we have a card that's right around $10 that was $75 if you bought the all-time high.
OG foils still upwards of $250 for your original foil versions, with $30 for your foil here of the Outlaws. Yeah, CDH players came through, got their copy. The any older formats that wanted it got their copies, and now it seems like everybody's satisfied and the price just is dwindling.
You can see, though, it's interesting how the foil price of the OG, people just, they prefer, if you had to pick between the breaking news border and the original border, you can see where the demand is.
Oh yeah, 100%. It is monkey. I never ever thought I'd see the day, Jake, where people are like, well, Ragavan is starting to get power crept out of the format. Under $30 for your OG base copy, Ragavan, nimble, Ragavan, nimble, pilferer. This is just, I mean, do you pick up a 4 set now? What do you do? Have you waited this long? Chat, did you need them anymore? Who is waiting still to pick up Ragavan? I don't know.
It's still aced by Bowmasters. You know, with Nadu having just left and Grief having just left, it's probably worth it to, if you are a player who you just love big red, dude, and you just can't help but play red, and you're like, I want to have my Ragavans just in case. Yeah, we're heading into like the most low risk zone that the card has been. I'm still iffy on it. It's very hard to kind of determine the future of this card with Modern's shakeup that it has just had. What we know is that Bowmasters is a fantastic answer to it. Bowmasters did not get hit with a ban. Yeah, I think it's a fine card. I think if you're a commander player, Ragavan definitely plays in some commander builds. It's a fantastic turn 1. It can exile things from your opponent's library that are integral. Pretty much anybody who builds a commander deck, you're building that deck in a thoughtful way where all of those cards are meaningful to the deck. So if you do want a card that is still good in commander, I don't think Ragavan is going anywhere.
Halo foil version showing over $100 from the March of the Machine. We have had, as you can see, quite a few reprints. Our lowest here is your retro frame Modern Horizons 2 Ragavan. You know, pretty much all prices across the board right around that $30 mark to grab you a copy of the Monkey.
Now this is one that I'm actually pretty surprised on. It's a card that when it first came out, we were so excited about the effect, because you're searching for a card, exiling it, and then if that spell was bargained, you may cast the card. So people were like, oh yeah, you search up what you need to do and you can do it in that moment. So there's an implied, you're saving mana with this card. Yeah, it's definitely dropped from the all-time high price, and now this card that is still very good.
Yeah, I would love if this got down to $10, because I think at that point I would just make a $40 bet on a 4 set of these, that sometime in the next 2-3 years, however long this will last further in standard, that there's going to be something printed that like is a 2-mana creature that sacrifices to add a black mana, and you can cast this on turn 3 pretty easily in mono black, or some insane mono black 4-drop printed alongside a 1 or 2 drop that creates a token that makes it easier to bargain. Like the odds that something that mono black could potentially go get to make this effectively 8 copies of that mana value 4 or less card that's so game breaking we just want to go beseech the mirror right out on. And
one ring.
And we have a 1 or 2 drop that gives us a token. So this for me is more of like a flyer, that the price has just fallen so far from where it was, over 25, over $30 at one point. And now getting down into the $10, $15 range, I'm like, standard's longer. Surely a mono black deck pops up in the next 2 to 3 years and makes Beseech skyrocket. I don't know, could be.
Yeah, I just want to say this. You know, I know people are tired of this, but when I talk about my current favorite commander deck, Obscure, I can take a demonic tutor and go tutor for my 1 ring and then play it, and it costs 6 mana. If I play Beseech the Mirror and I simply sacrifice any artifact in that deck, it's an artifact centric deck. I can sack a token food, I can sack a token treasure,
right?
And I can go get the ring and play it in that exact same turn for 4. Good.
We've got 3 bonus sheets that I think are worth keeping an eye on. And Jake, first up, we've got the big score bonus sheet. This is the sheet, y'all, that gave us such cards as Simulacrum Synthesizer, Vaultborn Tyrant. You've got your Sword of Wop in this set. And you can see lots of red over here on the right as far as these prices descending now. We're about 5 months. I know that doesn't seem like it, but we're about 5 months from this set coming out. And now we're starting to get into that out of sight, out of mind. I can't believe that actually happened this year range, where people start to forget about cards. And that's when we like to look at them.
Yeah, poor Sword of War and Peace never was even considered for Sword of WoP. It had to be for Wealth and Power. The War and Peace got completely skipped. Yeah, not digging in super deep on any of these. Just like Joel said, really just keep these on your radar. Think about the bonus sheets in these sets, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, cards like Generous Plunderer, anything off of this list, it's worth remembering that these cards are standard legal. And so if any of these potentially get popped in the next year or two from some card getting printed, you know, maybe you're wishing you had picked one up earlier when the price was descending.
And while we're on the big score, we are also going to shout out Breaking News. Breaking News is the frame that we were talking about that has Mindbreak Trap. Also, Mana Drain was printed in here. The frame, just based on card prices, it appears to be one of the least sought after variants. I think it's cool. I'm fine with the Age of Variants. But you have stuff in here like Reanimate, Thoughtseize, good cards like Anguished Unmaking, Archmage's Charm, Abrupt Decay, Archive Trap, and many more that are dirt cheap. Archive Trap, before this reprint, was like a $10 to $15 card. You can get it for $1. If you've been wanting to play Mill, wanting to try out Archive Trap, you can get the play set for $4. So with stuff like Path to Exile, stuff like Dust Bowl, Void Rend, just so many good cards that are absolutely dirt cheap, and they have all the function in the world for what you need them for.
And to give you sort of the longer range view on this, let's look at a set that's double that age at about a year old with Wilds of Eldraine. You'll notice on the right, much more green, much more,
lots of green going on over there.
Many more price increases versus the falls that we're still seeing with Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I would take one last look before we get too far from Enchanting Tales. If you didn't grab a beautiful copy of Doubling Season, a beautiful copy of Rhystic Study, and you really want it, now is probably the time. Better sooner than later for sure.
Dude, look at those Bloomborough percents going crazy. Kindred Discovery, 14.5. You got Parallel Lives, 14. Doubling Season, also up 4.3%. And then Rhystic Study being the granddaddy of all of them, being that beautiful anime. But you could see, because of such a big push with kindred creature types in Bloomborough and token synergies, you can just see at the time of the filming of this how that effect has on these cards. It's pretty wild to see it in real time.
You can get a copy of Defense of the Heart right now for $9, y'all. Come on.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one, man. That, for me, is go grab Mike and Trike.
Right.
Yay, it's over.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of cards that are always going up and down in price, but if you do want regular updates on that and you've enjoyed this video, consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps us out, shows our videos to you when we post them.
Don't consider it, just hit it.
We appreciate it. All the names you see scrolling here in the middle of us are our Patreon supporters at our $10 level or higher. They know the deal. We think they're all very sexy. We think that there is one that is sexier than all the others, but we're not going to say which one.
Well, they're all great, and we appreciate you, the subscriber, as well. Thank you so much for watching.
That's it. Bye-bye.